Buckeyes 3-0, number one in the country heading into this one. Washington matches the Buckeyes record at 3-0. Ohio State a 9.5-point favorite. Our good buddy Tony Castricone, who is the voice of the Washington Huskies and who is a fan alumnus, says some interesting things here. Buckeyes have played in the Pacific Northwest 4 times in the last 40 years. They are 1-3 in those games. Bombed in 86. Holy smokes. Number 10, Ohio State. Was that Earl's last year? Got bombed by Washington 40-7 out there. Then in 1994, Buckeyes went out to Washington and lost 25-16 in 94. 07, Ohio State went out there and won 33-14. I remember that one quite well. And then, of course, last year out to Eugene in a 32-31 loss to the Ducks. I think these are fun little statistical things. I don't think it means much of anything in regard to this game. One thing that is very real is that this is a massively long road trip. But this is what happens when you add those teams to it. I heard Jim Lachey on with AR yesterday talking about how going out there Thursday to get acclimated, have all day Friday. My guess is the 3:30 kick had something to do with that, because I want to say last year when they went out for Oregon, they traveled on Friday. But I think maybe that was a night game, so maybe just the earlier kick, a little bit more time to get acclimated out in Seattle. Washington is on a little bit of a history burner here, the longest active home winning streaks. They are second in the country to the Georgia Bulldogs, who incidentally host Alabama this weekend. Washington has won 22 straight games, of course, hosting the Buckeyes and his 9.5-point dogs. So if both Georgia and Washington are to lose, the team with that streak of the longest without a loss at home would be the Oregon Ducks, who have now won 18 straight at home. It's a fun one. It's going to be a fun one to talk about this week. This is an Ohio State team that should be rested, rejuvenated, and ready to go. Ryan Day was on Roundtable yesterday. Among the topics of conversation, the self-scouting that happened during the bye week.
Yeah, only 3 games, and all 3 games are fairly different, non-conference opponents. But yeah, for both 2 new coordinators, it's important to be aware of what you're putting on film. So, everyone, no matter what you want, you put one play on film, they're going to be all over it. They're going to be eating it up, and they're going to make sure that, they have it schemed up. So whatever we put on film, and that's another message that we talk to our team about, whether it's a play in terms of scheme or just a play that you're putting on film as a player, you're either putting strength or weakness on film. And you put any weakness on film, man, they're gonna sniff that out. So our guys have done a great job of making sure that doesn't happen.
A couple of stats. This from our buddy Brad Crawford at 24/7 Sports. Ryan Day 48-0 against Big Ten teams not named Michigan or Oregon. He is 6-0 at Ohio State, coming off an open date. So think about that. Where is that 9.5 number? You had some comments about that yesterday, Bake. Didn't it start much higher and has gone way down?
Yeah, it started, I think, at 13.5 at most places, and then it dropped to 10.5 pretty quickly. And then it got down to 9.5. When I was thinking this, I thought that line at 13.5 was pretty much right, because I feel like this is somewhere around a 2-touchdown, 2-score game for Ohio State. I think it's going to be close, and then they'll kind of pull away a little bit late, get an extra score. But the public must have really liked it and went hard on it, because it came down quick.
Yeah, it's weird, too, when you take a look at this Washington operation, because they are 3-0. This is a team that played for a national championship 2 years ago, and for whatever reason, they are getting really no respect at all nationally. Reese, I think you had this yesterday. They're not even in others receiving votes, which is strange, because Fish kind of wins everywhere he's been, and it was tumultuous last year coming in and first year in the league, and kind of we got to get going right away. But it seems like they're pretty well organized on their NIL. They've looked really good against, albeit lesser comp, beat Colorado State in the opener 38-21, all over UC Davis 70-10, and then they won the Apple Cup 59-24 last weekend out in Pullman, which is typically a little bit of a tough place to play, although Washington State's in a little bit of a struggle bus this year. But yeah, they probably deserve a little bit more credit than they have. They are very good in terms of the triumvirate on offense, and then defensively they get after you a little bit. This is the third scariest game left on the schedule, behind Michigan and Penn State. That's kind of where I'm at.
I might even say the second.
Just because of Franklin?
It's really just, that's it. Look, they had one job to do in the offseason. You got to go get your quarterback a deep threat because you lost Tyler Warren, and they got receivers, sure, but I don't think they addressed a true deep threat that's what you need to beat Oregon, what you need to beat Ohio State. They didn't acquire that, and I think Kotelnicki gets too cute for his own good. I think that Ohio State certainly upgraded with the defensive coordinator. That's, it's a little bit of a shot at Jim Knowles. But I'm okay with taking it. I'm okay with taking it.
The guy's trying to renegotiate a contract while you're celebrating a national championship.
But I also think Damon Williams is the best quarterback that Ohio State will have faced in 4 weeks.
And he's an outlier too, guys.
Yeah.
Damon Williams, because he was recruited there. He stayed there. He watched for a year, and now he's the dude. So he did get some experience last year. He was pretty damn good last year. They got the kid from Will Rogers, right? They got him from Mississippi State, and then he ended up getting hurt, and so Williams ended up playing a lot last year. And he was pretty dang efficient, 78%, 944, 8 touchdowns, and an interception. Would want to look at the game log on that from his that's true freshman. So let's see where the big... All right, so struggled in a loss to Iowa, 12 of 16 for 71. Lost his last 2 starts. They got bombed by Oregon, 49-21. Lost to Louisville in their bowl game, 17-20 against Oregon, 26-32. It was really good in the loss to Louisville, 26-32 for 374, 4 touchdowns and a pick. But it's kind of it's something you don't see very often, like a kid who was recruited, a kid who stayed, got in a little bit, and is now ready to go.
This is a confident team. This is a competent team that's going to have the number 1 team in the country coming to your building, a place where, to your earlier point, they don't lose. They haven't lost in a long time in Seattle. No. And I do think that's going to set up for an Ohio State team with a first true road test for your freshman quarterback that does have the makings of don't sleepwalk into this game. If Ohio State shows up ready to play, similarly in the way they did against Texas defensively, it'll be fine for the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
But if you'll, come in a little sleepy-eyed and you're able to, 1-2 plays, you're able to let Williams escape. Jonah Coleman's a lot of fun. Watching that Apple Cup game, he'd be fun to have as a Buckeye. They've got, pretty good running backs themselves, but that's the kind of player that can make a big play that can keep that crowd in it for 4 quarters.
We've been talking about this 3-headed monster that Washington has on the offensive side of the football for a while, and Jake Butt even talked about it yesterday. He said Jonah Coleman might be the best running back in the country. That's not us saying it. That's not Washington people saying it. That's Jake Butt, who watches a lot of college football, played at a really high level. He said he might be the best in the country. Denzel Boston is a stud at wide receiver. I thought this was interesting, though, Bo, because we've talked about their offense a lot. And we haven't mentioned their defense at all. This was from Cam Meller. The highest pressure rate without blitzing, an FBS defense this year so far, Washington is number 1 at 51.4%. Now, do I think the Washington defense can shut down this Ohio State offense? No, I don't. But if there's a way to do that, it's to get pressure with your front 4, leaving everybody else back to cover the dynamic receiving threats that Ohio State has. So if they can get a little pressure on Julian without blitzing him, that could be a problem. And we haven't talked about the Washington defense at all.
No. I think it is. I think we're in a consensus here. Reese, it's fine. You want to go second? That's cool. I'm with that. But minimum, this is the 3rd most dangerous game left. And I do think that the travel, the setting, all of it, and the fact I do think it's interesting. Sometimes we have to be reminded of this. But like Washington yesterday announced that it's a sellout. And it's like, what took so long? This is not everybody operates the way that you do here, but this is a very proud program that's won a national championship in me and Bake's lifetime, and it's a massive city, and it's a good coach, and they played for a national championship 2 years ago.
They also said go to SeatGeek, the official ticket partner of Washington, for your secondhand tickets.
There you go. If you want to go to the homecoming game with Minnesota, we now can tell you when that game will take place. We will get to that and a catastrophic weekend in the National Football League on the injury front. All of that coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here.